300 years hence, when the incoming seventh ray egos will be numerically strong enough to be recognized as the prevailing type for a certain period. Their physical bodies, owing to their being built for seventh ray force, will respond more readily than the others, though first ray egos and fifth ray egos will benefit enormously from this influence. The etheric devas will build during a peculiarly favorable period, and the physical bodies then constructed will be distinguished by a. resilience, b. enormous physical magnetism, c. ability to reject false magnetism, d. capacity to absorb solar rays, e. great strength and resistance, f. a delicacy and refinement in appearance, as yet unknown. The etheric levels of the plane will be full of an increased activity, and slowly but surely, as the decades slip away, man will become conscious of these levels, and aware of their inhabitants. The immediate effect of this greater etheric energy will be that a numerically larger number of people will possess etheric vision, and will be able normally and naturally to live consciously on etheric levels. The majority of men only function consciously on the three lower levels of the physical: the gaseous, the liquid, and the dense, and the etheric levels are as sealed to them as are the astral. In the coming centuries, man's normal habitat will be the entire physical plane up to, though not including, the second subplane. The fourth and third etheric levels will be as familiar to him as the usual physical landscape to which he is now accustomed. The center of attention of medical and scientific students will be focused on the etheric body, and the dependence of the physical body upon the etheric body will be recognized. This will change the attitude of the medical profession, and magnetic healing and vibratory stimulation will supersede the present methods of surgery and drug assimilation. Man's vision, being then normally etheric, will have the effect of forcing him to recognize that which is now called the unseen world, or the superphysical. Men in their etheric bodies will be noted, and communicated with, and the devas and elementals of the ethers will be studied and recognized. When this is so, then the true use of ceremonial ritual as a protection and safeguard to man will assume its right place. The work of the devas in connection with the animal and the vegetable kingdoms will be likewise recognized, and much that is now possible through ignorance will become impossible and obsolete. The time will come when the attitude of man to the animal kingdom will be revolutionized, and the slaughter, ill treatment, and that form of cruelty called sport will be done away with. A mysterious change in the attitude of men and women to the sex question, marriage, and the work of procreation will result from the development of etheric vision, and the consequent recognition of the devas. This change will be based on the realization of the true nature of matter, or of the mother aspect, and of the effect of the sun upon substance. The unity of life will be a known and scientific fact, and life in matter will no longer be a theory but a fundamental of science. This cannot be enlarged upon here. 3. Minus in the final rounds. A. The transmutative process. Transmutation is a subject that from the earliest ages has occupied the attention of students, scientists, and alchemists. The power to change, through the application of heat, is of course universally recognized, but the key to the mystery, or the secret of the systemic formula, is advisedly guarded from all searchers, and is only gradually revealed after the second initiation. The subject is so tremendous that it is only possible to indicate in broad general outlines how it may be approached. The mind of the public turns naturally to the transmutation of metals into gold with the aim in view of the alleviation of poverty. The mind of the scientist seeks the universal solvent which will reduce matter to its primordial substance, release energy, and thus reveal the processes of evolution, and enable the seeker to build for himself, from the primordial base, the desired forms. The mind of the alchemist searches for the philosopher's stone, that effective, transmuting agent which will bring about revelation, and the power to impose the will of the chemist upon the elemental forces, which work in, by, and through matter. The religious man, especially the Christian, recognizes the psychic quality of this transmutative power, and frequently speaks in the sacred books, of the soul being tried or tested 7 times in the fire. All these students and investigators are recognizing one great truth from their own constricted angle, and the whole lies not with one or another, but in the aggregate. In defining transmutation as it is occultly understood, we might express it thus. Transmutation is the passage across from one state of being to another through the agency of fire. The due comprehension of this is based on certain postulates, mainly 4 in number. These postulates must be expressed in terms of the old commentary, which is so worded that it reveals to those who have eyes to see, but remains enigmatic to those who are not ready, or who would misuse the knowledge gained for selfish ends. The phrases are as follows. He who transfers the Father's life to the lower 3 seeketh the agency of fire, hid in the heart of mother. He worketh with the agnicatons, that hide, that burn, and thus produce the needed moisture. He who transfers the life from out the lower 3 into the ready 4th seeketh the agency of fire hid in the heart of Brahma. He worketh with the forces of the Agnishvatas, that emanate, that blend, and thus produce the needed warmth. He who transfers the life into the gathering 5th seeketh the agency of fire hid in the heart of Vishnu. He worketh with the forces of the Agnishvaryans, that blaze, that liberate the essence, and thus produce the needed radiance. First moisture, slow and all-enveloping. Then heat with ever-growing warmth and fierce intensity. Then force that presses, drives and concentrates. Thus is radiance produced. Thus the exudation. Thus mutation. Thus change of form. Finally liberation, escape of the volatile essence, and the gathering of the residue back to primordial stuff. He who ponders these formulas, and who meditates upon the method and suggested process will receive a general idea of the evolutionary process of transmutation which will be of more value to him than the formulas whereby the Devas transmute the various minerals. Transmutation concerns the life of the atom, and is hidden in the knowledge of the laws governing radioactivity. It is interesting to note how in the scientific expression radioactivity, we have the Eastern conception of Vishnu Brahma, or the rays of light vibrating through matter. Hence the usually accepted interpretation of the term atom must be extended from that of the atom of chemistry, to include a. all atoms or spheres upon the physical plane. b. all atoms or spheres upon the astral and mental planes. c. the human being in physical incarnation. d. the causal body of man on its own plane. e. all planes as entified spheres. f. all planets, chains and globes within the solar system. g. all monads on their own plane, whether human monads or heavenly men. h. the solar ring pass not, the aggregate of all lesser atoms. In all these atoms, stupendous or minute, microcosmic or macrocosmic, the central life corresponds to the positive charge of electrical force, predicated by science, whether it is the life of a cosmic entity such as a solar logos, or the tiny elemental life within the physical atom. The lesser atoms which revolve round their positive center, and which are at present termed electrons by science, are the negative aspect, and this is true not only of the atom on the physical plane, but of the human atoms, held to their central attractive point, a heavenly man, or the atomic forms which in their aggregate form the recognized solar system. All forms are built up in an analogous manner, and the only difference consists as the textbooks teach in the arrangement, and the number of the electrons. 159 Consciousness of the atom, page 17-22.57. The electron itself will eventually be found to be an elemental, tiny life. The second point I seek to make now is: radiation is transmutation in process of accomplishment. Transmutation being the liberation of the essence in order that it may seek a new center. The process may be recognized as radioactivity, technically understood and applied to all atomic bodies without exception. That science has but recently become aware of radium, an example of the process of transmutation, is but the fault of science. As this is more comprehended, it will be found that all radiations, such as magnetism, or psychic exhalation, are but the transmuting process proceeding on a large scale. The point to be grasped here is that the transmuting process, when effective, is superficially the result of outside factors. Basically, it is the result of the inner positive nucleus of force, or life reaching such a terrific rate of vibration, that it eventually scatters the electrons, or negative points which compose its sphere of influence, and scatters them to such a distance that the law of repulsion dominates. They are then no more attracted to their original center, but seek another. The atomic sphere, if I might so express it, dissipates, the electrons come under the law of repulsion, and the central essence escapes and seeks a new sphere, occultly understood. We must remember always that all within the solar system is dual, and is in itself both negative and positive. Positive as regards its own form, but negative as regards its greater sphere. Every atom therefore is both positive and negative, it is an electron as well as an atom. Therefore, the process of transmutation is dual and necessitates a preliminary stage of application of external factors, a fanning and care and development of the inner positive nucleus, a period of incubation or of the systematic feeding of the inner flame, and an increase of voltage. There is next a secondary stage when the external factors do not count so much, and when the inner center of energy in the atom may be left to do its own work. These factors may be applied equally to all atoms. To the mineral atoms which have occupied the attention of alchemists so much, to the atom, called man, who pursues the same general procedure, being governed by the same laws. And to all greater atoms, such as a heavenly man or a solar logos. The process might be tabulated as follows. 1. The life takes primitive form. 2. The form is subjected to outer heat. 3. Heat, playing on the form, produces exudation and the factor of moisture supervenes. 4. Moisture and heat perform their function in unison. 5. Elemental lives tend all lesser lives. 6. The devas cooperate under rule, order and sound. 7. The internal heat of the atom increases. 8. The heat of the atom mounts rapidly, and surpasses the external heat of its environing. 9. The atom radiates. 10. The spheroidal wall of the atom is eventually broken down. 11. The electrons or negative units seek a new center. 12. The central life escapes to merge with its polar opposite, becoming itself negative and seeking the positive. 13. This is occultly obscuration,